Also, yeah, you were saying you had a question for me just before
Yeah,
we
man.
go.
This because I've seen you make these comments before,
Yeah.
and the latest iteration, latest example is obviously OD and Black going back and forth at each other. But it's not only rap beef, because like there's also just beef in general. Tweets flying back and forth, different artists, is not always in the rap space. Like, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Martell. Be the standout swim. What's good, brother?
I'm good.
It's good to see you again.
Likewise, man. Yeah.
And to see you again at Christmas.
The time of the season, our season, for many reasons.
Yeah.
So many reasons.
Has Christmas always been fun for you?
Growing up, yes, definitely. It was always, I have a big family. Rather, I know my family, so I'm aware that I have a big family. And like, that was always our time. It was always our time all year round, but extra during Christmas, you know. So it's now transitioned to another side of my life, like where it's also a busy season now, and work is now what dominates it, no longer like really just family. But I still have really good memories of it.
Does that suck?
A little bit, actually.
What
You
sucks
know,
there?
It's funny because like I think I just lost a gig, actually, because it came for Christmas Day, and now it's like I don't think I'm willing to go through that, what it would take to travel and be there available on Christmas Day, that for that amount, and because I want to be home, so those are decisions that I never thought I would make. There was a time where I never ever saw a time I would leave family for work or money to get a bag. Then there was a time where I never thought that I would turn down a bag. Now I'm at a point where it's like, okay, no, there are certain boundaries, and it's a time I want to protect as much as possible. So it's become that.
So it's funny, the evolution of the human being, having to make that decision between family and work.
Yeah.
A lot of people would assume that, it's December, everybody becomes fairly within the industry, everybody becomes a robot of some sort. We're just functioning machines. You gotta perform. I know the artistry is in the details, but it's just sport. We're just racking up the numbers. And so to see someone opt to not play that game even for a day.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's what's so interesting about it, And I feel like careers and lifespans, they have phases, and in a phase where I want it all. I want all the things I've been dreaming about and I've been envisioning. I want it all. I'm now realizing that there are things that I'm not willing to do. I always attacked it and approached it from these dreams. I'd do anything to achieve these dreams. I'm now realizing that that's not true. There's some things that I'm not willing to do, or there are things I'm willing to negotiate, right? So I think that's a new realization for me. And yeah, you either lean in. The industry is such that you either see yourself as who you are through your own eyes, or you allow yourself to see yourself through the eyes of other people. It's one of those things. You have to be intentional about seeing things through your own eyes.
But it's a dual perspective.
Exactly.
You do need people to see you via their eyes. You do need people to build their own understanding of you with all of the information you put out, whether it's art, whether it's conversations like this, whether it's your Instagram.
Yeah.
People build that connection.
That's you're hitting the nail on the head. That's the actual tension. That's the actual thing that if you allow yourself, it can drive you crazy, is you do have to acknowledge that how people see you is important. But I don't necessarily think you need to only look at yourself through that. A large part of your viewpoint, I think, needs to be your own POV. Because at the end of the day, even when like the thing that you bring to your art and to your creativity is your own unique POV. That's the actual selling point of the music. And if you lose sight of that. It'll start to show in different ways. So like you're right. That's the real issue. The issue is you have to see yourself through the eyes of other people, but you also have to see through your own eyes. And how much of it should it be at any given point in time?
Huh.
You know? Yeah, man. It's a very funny game.
Yeah, finding that sweet spot.
Yeah, for real, exactly. But yeah. I feel like on that journey though, it's an ongoing journey, and I'm enjoying it. You know, the lessons sometimes can be really hard though, for real. Yes, but I'm enjoying it.
But having to come to this place of understanding where you finally realize you gain more self-awareness, and then you finally realize what toll you can pay for your pursuit, the price of your purpose. Having to understand that must be a sobering reality. Or was it relief to gain that level of understanding or clock that reality?
Is definitely the first taste of it is sobering. It's always sobering to realize what it will cost. Do you know what I mean? It's nice to walk past the window and be like, look at those shoes, or look at that outfit, look at that thing that I want. And then there's another thing when they tell you the price. Your body calms down. Then you now start to
Everywhere
make
goes blur.
first, you go first balance. And now think of your balance.
Yeah.
I wonder, can I afford it? But now it's interesting because the way this game works is that unlike when you're shopping, where you're told the price when you're about to buy it, here you're not told the price. You go for it. And along the way, you discover the cost, the price, the loss of family time, the disassociation from yourself, like who you are as a person, and trying to figure out what that is when you never had a doubt of that before. And so many other things, finances and how you're viewed in society. So many things come as a result of this, even your own self, what you give up to create. So I feel like it's sobering at first, but then I think there's relief. There's always relief with acceptance. And I think acceptance is a big part of growth.
What did it cost at the start?
Man, I mean, what did it cost at the beginning? Did it even feel like it cost anything? What was it?
It didn't feel like you were paying something.
It didn't feel like that because you're on the journey, We'll go hunt for studios. Luckily, eventually, and we now start recording at Red Room Studio. This is in Nigeria. And what is the cost of that? Staying up till 2, 3, 4, 5 a.m., coming home at 6, getting up, going to work, going to the office. So what? I want this thing badly. I put my life on the line for it, my family's view of me on the line for it, that kind of thing. What did it cost? It cost us being in some areas we shouldn't have been. At times we shouldn't have been sometimes, right? And some things got dangerous. So what? But it's as you get older and you start to have like certain responsibilities, a certain view of yourself and where you really want to go is much clearer now. The cost becomes even more apparent. But at the beginning, a lot of times, I would say it's fun, but the pursuit of it is giving so much that you're not really thinking about a lot of the other things. You're not thinking about the expenses, a lot of times. So just how you can get over the next challenge.
And so with, the normal passage of time and human growth and compounding and responsibilities, in a way, does that mean responsibilities, becoming a fan, building a family, partnering with someone, or even just taking on a lot more, does it impact creation? Or not even beyond creation, does it also impact navigation, industry navigation?
For sure, man. I think that not even everything, like first deciding what you want to do and owning this is what I'm going to do and these are the steps I need to take to achieve it. Taking responsibility of your dreams affects how you're going to create and how you're going to navigate. Because it's okay, I'm making music. When I started, the music is coming from the purest place. I started with 2 other guys, and from there is how I started to learn to rap, that I could rap and explore rap. And there was no, I was in school, I was in college, there was nothing to lose. It was not the main thing I was doing, it was on the side, you know. But when it becomes a situation where I think my life might depend on this, the things you create around to allow yourself to do what you do will change, and it impacts your creativity. Now I go to a studio session where it was free flowing and whatever I felt to come, now is like, I need something to happen in this session because I paid for it. So it affects your creativity in that way. It can. And even navigation now becomes much more important. I think there's a very big power when naivety and ignorance are very powerful, and they're very important, and they're most potent at the beginning of your career, because you need that naivety to enter what you do not know was shark infested waters. You know, you need to be a bit naive to take a leap of faith. Sometimes when you know what's waiting for you, maybe you will hesitate. So I think that it does affect creativity, can affect navigation. And sometimes that's not a bad thing, because you need to learn your limits, your possibilities, your boundaries, your motivation. I feel like the artistic process requires life to happen to you. It doesn't happen in a silo. Even if it's happening, as a point you're going to need to replenish. You know, so I feel like all those things, life will always affect art, always affect navigation of finding your way.
But a very strong part of life in this industry is the pursuit of insulation from the world.
Like
So,
wanting to pull away.
yeah, because not isolation, that's different, but insulation from mundanity, everyday reality, from normalcy.
Yeah.
So you
I
make,
like that subtle difference.
yeah,
Isolation and insulation.
yeah, these are very different.
Yes, they actually.
Yeah, I insulate myself from the noise from the street.
Yeah.
But I'm not isolated from my
Yes,
community.
exactly.
I still function. I just don't want the noise.
Huh.
So with music, once the money starts coming in, what generally happens now, and then the fame happens, what generally happens, like there's a shrinkage of your normalcy. And so you as a person, things that you do to protect yourself. Maybe you want to get more security. You want to get more better housing. You're going to more exclusive housing, rather. You want to protect your energy. You want to protect what goes out. And so your circle, they have to stay solid or they shrink naturally. And then the places you go to, also, you can't walk down the street on a whim. You can't, except in very private spaces.
Yeah.
And so doesn't that alters what your humanity?
You're you're tugging at the string of something very, very deep. You know, it's true. How can you? It's not normal to be famous. And I'm not even speaking as the most famous artist in this country. You know, it is not normal. You have to lose something to gain that. And you know, the thing about it is that that's not even promised in your career. You know, so a lot of us are not equipped to handle those things. At least for me, speaking for myself, I started out because I discovered I had an ability, and I kept exploring it. Stop, start, stop, start. And ultimately it led me somewhere where there was a big connection with an even bigger audience than I ever imagined. But it doesn't prepare you for the side effects of that. And I say the side effects because that's not what I went into it for.
The byproduct.
It's a byproduct of that. And you're right, it does affect normalcy. But I like this thing you said about isolation versus insulation. We definitely tend to want to. Isolation ultimately will kill you off because you need to be connected to something to create.
Yeah.
But insulation is needed to survive, especially in a place where, like, where we come from is very hostile to creativity, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And a little bit of insulation protects you, but not enough to isolate you. It's key. You've taught me some new terminology to use.
So it's still a balancing act, man.
100%. So much of this whole thing, you realize, is balancing act. From how you need to create to even the music that you make is a blend of Afrofusion of this. so much of creativity is how can I take existing things plus something that maybe nobody has even thought of, mix it all to make something that represents me, but has the chance of maybe connecting with somebody. And the truth is, the secret sauce is ain't nobody know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what song, which way, what timing. The only secret sauce, and I wish I knew this because I did not, is to actually keep creating. As simple as it sounds,
The journey is the way.
I did not know this. This is something that I did not realize the importance of, right? You know, so this is one of the lessons that I feel like I learned in a really hard way.
So the secret sauce is literally locking in.
You have to create a system to allow you to lock in. So you can't lock in till you get no rest. That's a bad system. That's not going to help. Advice from my own self. So if you don't put the necessary things within it, then it will still stall. So locking in doesn't mean locking into the detriment of everything else, but you need to find a way that prompts you to create. Because, in fact, create and release. Because if you don't put it out, you know, so that is a necessary system in the life of every artist. Yeah.
What usually prompts you to create?
Big emotions. Big emotions.
Do you seek them out?
Seeking them out, hardly ever. Hardly ever. I never experience. It is after crossing over the threshold of being, I don't know what term to use, but an artist that wasn't making no money to an artist that could earn, which is the life's goal, I would believe, for any artist to be able to go from your art bringing in something, you know, and like, I never used to have writer's block or things like that. But when there's a demand for it to happen, then that's when it happens. So I've now learned not to seek the big emotions. They come and make sure to take advantage of it and write and put myself in situations where I can create. But big emotions, feeling something intensely really inspires me to say something, and observation and, you know, being connected to something. But big emotions, I would say, you know.
Isn't that leaving so much to chance? Because, you know, setting up a system means constant.
Exactly.
It has to constantly be in play.
That's where you have to trust the
But
natural
emotions,
source.
they're all wacky, man.
You have to trust the natural source. I think the big emotions at least connects me to something that I know is real.
Yeah.
But of course, you know, I think the best of us, and that's what makes you an artist, you always have an opinion on something. You always got to have an opinion, you know, for better or for worse. So it's like, that's the thing that will always be active usually. So it's okay, I can write a verse if I need to write a verse on a certain kind of topic. But the verse to me takes on a whole new meaning if I felt something real and I put it down. Those two things, I think, artistically, when they come out, if you have a certain level of like skill, will still be good. But they may mean different things to you, you know. So yeah, the big emotions lead me somewhere, but it doesn't I still have the natural ability to do what I do. You know.
Okay. It's like leaving twice. You feel something, you gotta document it.
That's
you feel
pretty cool.
something, you gotta document it.
There is some interesting phrases, I mean, I like that. Living twice.
Yeah, but that's what it is. You feel an emotion, then you go, you transmute, translate, and store and release. Yeah, nothing now takes on a life of its own. So you experience the emotion, then you experience the product of that emotion forever.
That's why, like, when you make music, like, that's the first validation. Because if, bro, like, Joey, I can't describe to you the feeling of coming up with the line that says exactly what you wanted to say. For me, it is addictive. It is an addictive thing because it's like, yo, that's exactly how I wanted to say it. This is the way I wanted to say it. And I'm going to try and deliver it the way I want. So before that song is out, I already love it. I already made what I wanted to make. Of course, now the way not just the industry works, but life works. Other frameworks, other ways of validation are there. Like there's another hurdle to go, another matrix to go through to determine if what you put out is good, right? Whether it's chart positioning, whether it's radio spins, whatever it is. But before it's come out, it's already given me life. You know, that's where I think like true artistry is really coming from,
Mm.
as opposed to did it make me money, therefore it's valuable. I don't think that that's a bad way to look at it, but I think leaning way to one side might find you in a position where you know it's not really a career. It's just a one hit moment.
But then on the flip side, you also have the yes, creativity in itself is sacred, but when that creativity happens within the context, the economic context of making music, putting a business together, there's also the consumption standpoint. So you like a record, and then it goes into the world, and you don't see yeah, sometimes the world echoes that your love for the record, and then sometimes they just can't catch that vibration.
Yeah.
What does that now do to that satisfaction you initially felt before you put it out?
I think it's
Because
very
that demand is ever present on your creativity, especially when you do it.
I wonder what it's like for an artist who came in the game and hit immediately. I wonder what this feeling that you just described is like. But like us, that we, I came from a position of not even knowing this would be my life, not even knowing that I would become an artist.
What
And
was
then
it for you?
It was always, I feel like I was trying to do what I could do to be the right kind of son, the right kind of future man, the right kind of person, and not in a way that was performative. It was real. I felt like that was what I was meant to do. I was meant to go off to school. I was meant to get my education, push that as far as I could go. I was meant to find a job that could sustain me, because I could see the sacrifice of my parents to be able to afford the places and the things that they saw in my future. I grew up with that clear understanding of sacrifice. And it was like, I want to be able to stand on my own 2 feet. Music was absolutely the opposite of what one should do if you want to do that. I did not even believe I had this ability when I discovered it in school. And so it was like, that was the path. The path was the office and the tie, suit and tie, for sure. It had to be like that. Couldn't even conceive of another option. So yeah, doing this now, that's why it's like, okay, I put out the song and they don't like it, or it doesn't have a big it doesn't resonate as wide as another song. Hey man, I didn't even know I'd be here. I just feel like coming in as an indie artist, that's where you can't really scare me.
Yeah.
I can't. What am I gonna go back to? People not hearing I've been there, done that. I trust my sense of taste to the point where I will think you have the problem. But I'll be honest, it takes a while to get to that level of confidence and comfort with yourself.
Yeah.
It is natural to feel confused. Is this song not dope? You ask your guys, like, am I tripping? How are they not seeing this? But I think because I came from not having immediate commercial attention for such a while, that doesn't really shake my core so much. I think that gave me the armor. That's why I said I wonder if you hit from the beginning, which I think is amazing. I just wonder how you feel when things now don't work out. Do you feel shattered? Is a lot of your validation system based off of that? Mine is based off of the fact that I love what I create. I think I'm creating at a level that is amazing. And I am, that's where I guess my arrogance is, it's like, you can't tell me that shit was whack. I know it wasn't, maybe we didn't market it. Maybe we could have done this and that, but it's not because it was whack, period,
And how the commercial success impacts you?
Commercial success, it just made it clear that we had to, I couldn't, I think it's such a double-edged sword, Joey. It's a beautiful thing because I feel like if you're an artist out there doing this, putting yourself on the line,
Yeah.
I pray that it comes back to you. I pray that the works of your hands are blessed, because it's a precarious, risky, dangerous path to take in life. But there is a responsibility that comes when there is some commercial success. You have to ask yourself certain questions. Why you're doing this now, how this will affect things. And it does have an immediate impact, because first and foremost, it's sweet. It's amazing for the thing that you did to like move in a way where people are saying, oh my goodness, they like this. And then there's money, Joey.
Yeah.
Actual money
Yep.
for me to pull up and perform this song that I just made in this moment. What they will pay me to do what I love, then you realize you have to keep making songs that do this kind of thing. And then you now have, that's when the decision comes. It's like, okay, what does that mean? What does that make of me as an artist? But also, you realize that you're also an entrepreneur. If any artist that doesn't realize in the moment that they have some kind of commercial, and even realizing it better, even better. But like, for me, it was when I had that commercial momentum that I was like, this is a business. It has to be done as a business. It was not immediate, actually. It took me still some time to realize. But that's the thing. I feel like when you enter deep water, nobody will tell you that you have to swim. Like, there's things that just kick in. You made money. You want to keep making money. If that's important to you, there's adjustments you're going to have to make. And everybody's one is different. Some people are willing to change the mix of their music and the ingredients to keep that same one that hit. Some other people are willing to reduce their equity and bring in other people. Some people are willing to do many, many things. What are you willing to do? That's the question. For real.
And each of those paths is individualistic.
100%. I don't really think there's a formula, man. That's why labels sign so many artists. I don't think there's a formula. I don't think anybody really, really knows with each individual person, which has different timing and different background and different style. There's some basics, like keep creating. You can't do it alone. You need a team. Read your contracts. Yes. So, it's so funny to me because like one of my jokes is that, because the thing is that my music has like I said, English is the language of intellectualism. So people feel like all this talking. And it's important to communicate in every way you need to communicate. But last, even if it's pidgin, even if it's Yoruba, that contract is going to be in English. And you got to read it. And you got to understand it. And don't learn the hardest way possible. Like, don't. You don't have to, because some of us have already gone through that for you.
Yeah.
But besides that, I don't think there's a formula, bro. I feel like you just have to keep trying. Yeah.
Then what would you say for the people who have had repeated success?
I feel like it's...
Is it the universe opening up that glitch for them?
No, I think it's a combination of things. There's sometimes there are things that will work in the market because you can tell. Something here in Nigeria, like that connection, that communication. Language is so important here. How you communicate to people. There's this lyric that OD has that I like. It says something about like, what does he say? He says small English, big pidgin.
Yeah.
That's his mode of communication. And this is a country that appreciates that colloquial connection, those yarns, like whether it's Lamba or it's an indigenous language. That works. We love vibes, we love melodies, we love things that are transportive. So there are things that certain artists that because they're in that lane and that style, there's a chance that you appeal to a wider audience. This is nothing new. This applies to every music industry in the world. There are just some
every era of art.
And every era of art. There are some things that appeal to a wider audience, and there's some people that are about their business enough or have a particular kind of demeanor and they are focused and they get them. So I don't think it's. I think it's grace. I think it's timing, and I think it's intention for people to have these kind of big hit records. It's another thing when an artist is maybe moving in a space that is a bit more niche, a bit more specific,
Yeah.
and is now coming up with back to back big like records that are moving. That to me is more the thing I would want to stop and study. So when I think of like a Kendrick, in a way, yeah, I'm like, how are you? You're making outlier music, dense, wordy, verbose. So most people can't rap along to some of the things he's saying. Some people can, but it's a small number. But still being able to occupy this positioning. But there are trade-offs with that too. So I feel like, yeah, what would I say about those people? There's a grace, there's timing, and there's intention. But I'm more interested in the people that are doing it from a very niche space and consistently doing it. Because that to me, I won't say it's harder. It's has more layers to it.
We've seen rap evolve over time. We've seen how localization or indigenization of hip hop, just like we do with every other genre we take, has moved rap has taken rap on a journey. And this stuff you just mentioned about how, colloquialism, the rise of colloquialism, local languages, and all of that. When forces that are beyond you, cultural forces, or the zeitgeist, pop culture as we call it, when those forces impact your industry, I take for example, Afrobeats to the world impacted us, changed what it meant to make music in this market. Um, the rise of street rap revolutionized what hip hop meant to a local Nigerian boy just trying to see himself in rap. And for you, you've had, or rather, you've navigated it well. You've had all those faces in the popular indie signed,
yeah,
struggling, obscure,
yeah,
famous,
upscale, phase, figuring it out,
on
on road,
yes,
rebuilding.
So you've had all of that. Then what stays true in that? Because the demands are placed on you all the time. You gotta be this, you gotta be that, you gotta defend your position. When you become commercially successful, now you gotta defend your position or keep the gravy train rolling. What stays consistent through that? Because it seems like everything's pretty much just attacking your core.
The things that stay the same need to be why you do what you do. That needs to be clear to you, and it needs to be clear in a situation where, when you leave stuff, when you've cleaned your room, but over time there's just layers of dust that accumulate bit by bit by bit, and before you know it, those shoes that you kept in the corner, you've just cleaned them. If you give it some time, there'll be a layer of dust on them, and then you might forget and it kicks up. So my thing is, the thing that you do, why you do what you do, is one of those things in the room that need polish. And it's not easy to remember because, like you said, you're inundated with so many things happening and so many things attacking the source. But why you do what you do, to me, is the central thing, is the underpinning thing. Like, I do this because this, and this is because of that. This is the style of music I make. And because of this, the style of music, this is the community I've attracted. Yeah. And because this is the community I've attracted, this is how I'm going to consistently represent myself and them. And those things help inform how you navigate in a space where there's so many demands. That's how I feel like it should be. And I think sometimes some steps don't move the way you want them to. Like, for instance, one of the things that's so important to me right now is this conversation that I have with my community, Lifelines. So I call them, right? It is something that was the it was the foundation of where I've gotten to.
What are Lifelines?
Lifelines
For those who don't know it.
Lifelines are the Ladipoe supporters that believe, that have seen something from the beginning and have stuck around. Either they've stuck around or they've held certain phases dear and are waiting to be part of it again, or they're still in the train. And because I have this phrase, no punchlines, just lifelines. So I define my rap style around something called lifelines, and I call my fan base that. Because the lifeline keeps you alive, it supports you, So I think that conversation, there is something about commercial success that sometimes can pull you further away from the community. And being able to like fight for that is something that I'm really into right now,
How do you fight for a community? So how do you fight for the soul of a community?
You really fight for the line of communication. You fight for there to be a way that they know what you're thinking and where you're going and what you're doing, and a way for you to be able to like hear from them. You fight for that, and I think that that's what keeps you guys connected. And I don't think it's all situations where commercial success can take you away from that, but I do think it can. And in my case, I felt like a little bit of that happened at some point, and it's really something that is important to me to make sure it's reclaimed, it's rebuilt. And I see the signs, but it's never going to happen until that album drops. My fan base is very like, they feel a certain type of way right now. Let me just put it like that. They feel a certain type of way. Anything I post, last, oh, cute. Where's the album? Yeah, that's where we're at.
Well, you've been working on the album. I've heard the album.
Joey has heard the album.
Yes, I have.
Yes, I have been working on it. I've been working it for the past, say, 2.5 years. Maybe pushing 3. Or 2025? Yeah, maybe 2.5 years or so. And like, it's language. It's been about figuring out how to communicate what I want to say. And then to do that, I needed to figure out what I wanted to say. And then when I figured that out, I needed to figure out the mode of communication, the beats, the sound. And then for all of this, I needed to accept the artist that I was. So there's many, 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 many layers that have gone into like the creation of this project. And it's taken the time it's taken for quite a few reasons. And but it's almost here. It's almost here. But the game has changed again.
Yeah.
Joey, the game changed again. It changed on us. It changed from what we were saying when I dropped my last project, my last album in 2018, then the EP in 2021. It's changed again.
Yes, it has.
Yeah. And these days, for better, because Joey, I see you, man. I see you tweeting, I see you fighting the fight. And also, I feel like I wonder if people get your sense of humor, because I feel like there's a very specific sense of humor that you have, that's composing your tweets. But I see how like people react to it, and I'm wondering, are they even thinking, are they seeing the core of the message? But yeah, man, I think the game has changed. It will continue to change. It's not for better or for worse. It's always going to be a navigation thing. But I think one of the ways that I have learned through hard experience is to keep releasing music, regardless of in all the eras and all the times. And there was a break where I wasn't doing that as much, but we're past that and we're not going back. No longer.
Spending so much time on an album, having to create for extended periods of time. When do you feel the same impatience that's felt outside?
See, I cannot begin to tell you how much I do and how much pressure, a lot of pressure. The biggest pressures are the ones that you self-generate.
So this is self-inflicted.
100. There's a reason why Vince Staples said tortured artist. That's not a new term. Tortured for real. There's just so many things that you tell yourself you didn't do right, you could have done better, and there's all of this audio in your mind while trying to work on the real audio. But yeah, man, that impatience exists. It's like I feel the urgency of the fan base. I feel the excitement, I feel the anticipation, I feel the apathy, I feel all the different things. And sometimes I go into the music directly, even like the opening song on the record, I address some of those things. And it's like, I don't want to ever be in a position again where I've realized over time that I'm a project person. I like working on something that's a body as opposed to just singles, which is there was a time where that's where the industry was, you know. But now I've seen that, and his album is like is in the first era of that, the first offering in that era. You know, I do feel that pressure though, 100%. Like Lifelines, like trust me, it's our year 26.
Okay, so the floodgates.
Yeah, so has to be. You know, and also rappers, we don't create as. I feel like we are not as prolific as the vocalists as the Afrobeat guys. I think they're a lot more prolific. They put out a lot more music than we do.
Why do you think so?
It could just be as simple as
you
like
guys. I could say you guys on the creation part,
and I might be wrong, don't quote me anywhere, but just eyeballing it, you guys
have a higher rate of productivity
really.
in terms of creation.
I think it could just be as
release is different because rappers, you guys make songs.
we make songs, but
every
like,
day, every moment.
I feel like it could just be even as simple as the fact that to write 16 bars is different from singing 16 bars. You know, writing a verse is just more words. It's just more to say. It could be as simple as that. But I feel like traditionally, especially when I was coming up, I remember, I can't remember who I was talking to. Was it Ozone? Or we're talking about how that we don't put out as much music as these guys, and this was way back. And so it's like I've seen that play out, and I feel like, and also we know our the nature of the game has changed. You know, the idea of, you know, rappers will still talk about each other on song like better than every rapper and the da 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 da, but we know our competition is the Afrobeats boys and girls. Those are the people that is the bulk of popular music right now. So that's who we're really competing against, and that's why I feel like the output, it should increase. You know, so I see some artists who are about that. They're all about keeping up you know, especially the younger artists coming up now. There's a lot of projects that they're firing out, and I think that's a fantastic way to go, for sure.
Isn't it interesting how commercialization literally changes the nature of everything, including culture itself, including the fabric of culture itself? If I a wider view, think of things like commercialization changing how we treat the MP3 file. Once upon a time, a lot of us did not care about standardization of the technical aspects,
Yes.
like mixing and mastering,
Yeah.
all of that. We just let it go, and then they gave us more money, and we're like, yes, now we care.
All of a sudden.
Now we care. Remember when this thing you mentioned, how we were a singles market,
Yeah.
and then the money came in, and it
EPs,
mandated.
baby.
Yeah, it mandated.
Shout out to, I feel like I won't say they did it, but I feel like maybe made that popular.
Yeah.
Like releasing EPs when the artist launches, straight up body of work. I think Mavin really had a hand in making that popular. They've had a hand in a lot of things. But when you say commercialization, first and foremost, I always want to ask, what do you mean by commercialization? And I say this because the game has so many words, and we import their meaning from other industries a lot of times. You know,
Commercialization in this sense, it's just the space being inundated with more money.
okay.
So we saw that happen with the majors coming in,
Yeah, so
boots on the ground,
yes, sir.
contracts up and down.
For sure.
We saw how we were forced to clean up our act to a certain degree. So all the people who were industry guys, all of a sudden became specialists. Yeah.
But you know, I kind of felt like it was a reward for sticking around for the people. You know,
Was
sometimes
it?
you see, this is the thing. You know, it's confusing now because now there's more
So
money.
I don't say this in a bad way, or I don't make this derogatory or negative. I'm just saying money alters culture.
It does. It first and foremost sometimes rewards the right stakeholders, sometimes rewards the wrong, maybe the more unproductive stakeholders. So now there could be more increased process and institutionalization, or creating better institutions around the music, but then there's also more middlemen, more roadblocks, more things, because there are other people who are unproductive, but they are seeing more money because they're being rewarded for the fact that they stayed in it long enough.
Yeah.
And they're now seen as a thought leader or whatever the case is. And I think that happens in every space. Even the explosion of content creators, it rewards people who have maybe a little bit of a personality, but at most of it, they don't even know what maybe they're not even experts or even close to being experts on what they're discussing, but they're saying it in a way that's funny, and therefore they're a trusted information source. These are the things that today, in this day, we have to deal with: commercialization and also just the influx of information. I feel like that's something that every industry is facing, and it has its own unique effect in music. In other words, there's some fuckboys who have money that they shouldn't in the game, and they're using it to do things that they shouldn't. There's some people that who deserve these funds and are pushing in the right direction. I don't think that tension will ever disappear. And I think you're right. It will affect the culture of the fabric of culture.
Yeah.
We can't ever push culture in a good or a bad place.
Yeah.
Culture is just going to do what culture does. The question is, what aspect of it are you representing? Which is your portion that you're standing 10 toes down in, or you're representing?
That's your cultural real estate.
You know, for me, it's been the rap space, but it's also the idea that let's not get too used to thinking mediocre things are dope. Let's still be uncomfortable. I represent that. I believe that because it's cooler now to do less, but still look like you're doing a lot. It's easier to be comfortable with like pretending to do it. And I want the people coming after me to still like know that the secret sauce is actually like caring, being intentional, and putting in your effort and thinking about it. And there's a part of it that is vibe and spontaneity, but we can still afford to care. I don't want this values that are currently are the things that are running the Nigerian this country of ours to now seep into my place of work. In a sense that it's like, Joey, we didn't know how we were going to make it work for ourselves. A lot of us carving out these niches. There's no framework. There was no framework. There was no this is how these are the opportunities abound in the country. All of these things. And now we want the mediocrity that has seeped into our larger institutions and governments to now enter into the music. I want to be part of the people that still makes us uncomfortable with that. Mediocrity is smelling and corrosive.
Yeah. Yes. That's also something commercialization did. It gave us the money to alter reality.
Bro.
Yeah. Yeah, to
How
alter.
are you dealing with that? How do you deal with the fact that even when you go online to say something, you're speaking to somebody who does not even not necessarily even believe what they said, but they said it because either they get a paycheck off of it or just to stir up something. So it's not even a genuine reality. But then you are bringing your own true emotions to that. How do you feel about reality now being
being engineered?
Yeah, well, so I always try to focus on the things I can control. That's the only power I have, especially as the world changes around me. And what I've seen is over time, the truth resonates. So think about this. I don't necessarily have the most numbers in the work that we do in music space, all of that. But I have the most I think I've been blessed I have the most regard. My credibility stays, and I've been blessed, and now I'm just beginning to be blessed materially for that. I look at that now. People say don't do long form, but long form gave me Martell.
Yeah, for sure. Because I remember when we did our interview, I think it was like 5 years ago.
Yep.
And
yeah.
there was none of this.
None of
There's
this.
a big light. There are
There's a
big lights
light,
everywhere
there's
now.
For you guys who know, it's a big ass Martell bottle. We haven't even opened it. We're just looking at it just to enjoy the leveling up.
I think now it's a good time to
it's cracking open, no doubt. Yeah, conversation will change now for sure.
Well, we have so.
Yeah, no, I feel like
Uh-oh.
altered reality though. I mean,
You want some?
a little bit.
Oh.
Just so you don't drink by yourself.
Oh, thank you.
Yes,
See,
no.
culture. I
Culture,
love
no.
cultured
Hey, no.
men.
Hey.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a growth.
And also it's because I'm drinking it because it's like it's straight from the source. Because these days, enter the club and lose a kidney.
Yeah, this came straight from France.
See, not even the stock right. There's
no,
here
no,
from
not
France.
this inventory.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
man.
thank you.
Cheers, man.
Cheers, brother.
And so that gave me all of this. Like, we're filming this in my living room now. I can afford to do that, or to even be in a space where I can do that. And so those things matter. Those things still matter. So that's how I deal with it. And then a lot of the time it's just a clash of perspectives. And I have way better perspective than you have. I have clarity, and I'm precise. You're not, because you don't have the information I have. And so you also have to learn restraint also now more than ever, because you go online and someone's saying something sideways, and if you have to respond in the way that you want to, or with your full truth, you're going to betray confidence. You're going to peel back the layers of discretion that the industry demands. Yeah.
So
in
in
other,
other
for
words,
example, that someone might just wake up now and say, "Oh, you might say something that brings light to a situation that involves." Then they say, "I see something about Olamide now, and like Olamide needs to do A, B, C, D, or he has done this," and I analyze it, and people will just show up and say, "Hey, you hit Olamide. You hit Olamide," and you're like, "No, this is valuable." And then on the flip side, you're looking at your phone, and Olamide is telling you, "Yes, that thing you said, it's true. I think we should that." And you're having this conversation with Olamide. While on the internet, they're saying you hate Olamide, but this is your guy. So human reaction would say, take Olamide's screenshot. People do it. It's so weird. I find that very appalling. Take Olamide's screenshot, put it out, and enjoy that clout moment. But that's not what we're here for. And so you have to deal with
following the
you just the urge. And so so you have to do that.
And more than ever, it's important that we that have any sense of standardization can stand as beacons of what is.
at any cost.
Not well. In my career,
And it's not to tarnish your credibility.
not to tarnish your credibility. So you can't lie. Yeah, you can't lie. You can't. Well,
The game is the game,
and yes, there have been moments where you've been. And I get those offers all the time. There was a time when I got an offer to say something in support of art, and that particular piece of art has negative connotations for the industry. But yeah, the money is good, and I'm like, oh, no.
This
It's
thing-
painful, but no.
this thing you said is that credibility that is so, like, my background is, I always describe it as like civil servants and entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
That's the stock where I come from. And the civil servants, that's, there's an era of civil servants that's your name
Yeah.
meant something. So
Yep.
I can't say it was wealth in monetary sense. Like in my growing up, it was the power of the integrity of the name and maintaining that. And so like, that's very difficult for me to trade what I believe I stand for and who I think I represent. And this is an industry that typically constantly is asking is, you know, it's transactions to trade. And one of the things that's also on offer, is to, can you perform the song for this amount of money? But there's also, can you give me a little bit of that, your credibility for this as well. So it's, what are you really willing to do? And I'm not going to go out here and say that I'm a saint, but that I know that that's a very important thing to me, you know. And it's probably the reasons why I've gotten some opportunities, but also the reason why I've lost a lot of opportunities as well, is that it's just going to be that what each artist has their own amount of that kind of personal integrity and credibility that they want to preserve. And I feel like I'm an artist that there's a sound I want to convey. And I'm willing to die on the line for it. I'm willing to say no to a show or say yes to a show because of some of these things. But you know, because until I really tested, you know, and I guess But I think to me, that's a big part of like what the Ladipoe P. You know, there's some things I won't do. You know, and that's why I don't tweet. That's my issue with X. Because like, I just don't feel like I'm built to win in that space. A space where it's like, man, like being untethered from reality is what makes the win. You can't really see me there, because it's like, what am I talking to? This guy doesn't even believe in what he's saying. I'll not respond, you know, or if it's beef and the beef, you know, to me, I've never really known how to exist in a space where I can't, like, if we're not trying to keep it real.
And you can't commit to being the beacon of light, and you don't feel the call to be the beacon of light, to be the bastion of what is.
I feel like I need to find my way there. You know, I think
you don't want
that,
to hold the stand.
nah, man. Like, I'm a big believer in, like, you know, I don't believe in heroes, man, like that. I feel like you have to be careful with who you think is going to come and save the day. You have to reason with sense. I know that the person is a human being at the end of the day. And I don't want to bring other matters into it, but all the pastors, all the politicians, all these people, they're all human beings, you know, and they're very flawed, you know. So I always look at things with that critical eye. So I find it funny when people act like you're not. Because you're famous doesn't make you all of a sudden free from these natural human flaws, you know. So I look at people as who they are.
I also have radical optimism, because what if it all works out?
As for what's,
like, generally, that's how I ask myself. That's what I ask myself.
I feel like that's my dad. My dad is an optimist, and I like that energy.
Like, what if it all works out?
Yeah.
Like, so that in itself is my guiding light.
Yeah.
And so that's why
I fuck with that.
Yeah, that's why I constantly,
I believe in that.
Yeah, that's why I exist here, and that's why I do the things.
Because what if it does, Joey?
What if it does, bro?
What if it's the sound that I'm saying is that the sound that I have is the one that dictates things?
Yep.
Yes. What if it goes?
Yeah.
That's why, you know what it is now, is the amount of delusion we all have to it, you know. I believe in reality checks, but not all reality checks ground you to reality. Sometimes they confirm that you're supposed to be floating, you're supposed to be a bit crazy. You know what I mean? So to me, I don't think there's an artist that exists without a little bit of delusion. Some more than others. You know,
So
Kanye levels.
For this new project, what's the guiding delusion here?
The guiding delusion, I like that. The guiding delusion is that people will still fuck with it if you're yourself. And I say that, and the most cliche thing is that there's value in being who you're meant to be. It's very cliche. But that's true to people who are thrust in a space where everything is, like you said, is coming at you to be for an opportunity if you can only be something you're not. So many things are, so over time, it becomes valuable to find out who you're meant to be. And that's really the guiding light of the album, is that I came in to a space where I didn't know I was going to be here. I didn't know I was going to even have any impact. And then it started to compel me, and I went and I moved, and then I signed to a label that I wasn't sure if this was so many periods of uncertainty, and I call like the identity crisis. And then it's like, okay, we've got this connection now, it's happening, it's going, you know, but what are we willing to do to sustain it? You know, those kind of things. And so being, at the end of the day, realizing that last, it needs to be based on you. The things that are really you can never be the things that will take you down. So really, that's what the album is centered on. It's centered on realizing that and standing 10 toes on that, you know, and inviting people along for the ride. You know, the first album was Talk About Poe for a reason, because it's like, this is the conversation starter.
Yeah.
That was to keep that conversation going, you know. Yeah. And I feel like there's a role that I've played, and I see myself being able to, like, a space I see myself being able to take through the rap lane, not using that as a way to, I'm a rap artist, but it's not the only thing I have. It's not the only thing that defines me. But through that rap lane, I want to be able to take this thing to a level that anywhere in the world, people are proud to say, like, this is Nigerian music. This is Nigerian rap music. This is African music. You know, I see myself as like an ambassador for, like, this intentional, I have something to say music. You know, a lot of times people who make music in that lane are made to feel like you are doing too much.
Yeah.
You're being too difficult.
Yeah.
You're a perfectionist, Mr. Perfectionist. I reject those kind of thinking. I reject the
You
idea
reject those
that-
labels even.
I reject the labels, because a lot of people too, even though they're moving in a different route, are perfectionists in that route. You know, this is a big, like, back and forth I have with the label all the time. You know, one of the things we ultimately coined was like niche artistry, mainstream success. Can we find that through line between you doing you, but still connecting to the widest audience possible? We are balancing on that edge, and I feel like there'll always be tension between labels and artists, but at least we found something that we're trying to, like, aim for, you know.
Also, yeah, you were saying you had a question for me just before
Yeah,
we
man.
go.
You know, this, because I've seen you make these comments before,
Yeah.
and the latest example is obviously OD and Black going back and forth at each other. But it's not only rap beef, because, like, there's also just beef in general. Tweets flying back and forth, different artists. It's not always in the rap space. Like, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are.
So with OD and Blaqbonez, it was a very interesting one for me, because those are two members of my family. So I've known Blaqbonez forever, since he was struggling. I've interviewed Blaqbonez at every stage of his life, when we were in a shared apartment, when he was in a shared apartment, and he was eating granuts during an interview. I still have that image in my head. And then at some point, I interviewed him in a second home with like 3 cars outside.
Crazy.
The same person.
Crazy.
And so we have that relationship. On the other hand, Odumodublvck is my brother, and I don't use that word lightly. Like, brother, look at that. That's him on my wall. Yeah, so he's my brother. It's part of my family.
Yeah.
My family. And so having to see these two people pit themselves against each other, I became Switzerland, stayed neutral. But more than ever, even beyond the players, for music especially, I am very pacifist, absolute pacifism. So beef does not help the game. I think it diminishes us. I think beef has fragmented music to the point where we now have stan wars.
Yeah.
We
Yo, I got caught in some stand crossfire
Please
one time.
don't. It's
Yo,
horrible.
I've never. My phone was hot.
Yeah, it's
Nah, bro,
it's horrible.
that was
It's-
crazy.
Yeah, it's the purgatory of music consumption.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
You says the what?
The purgatory.
Yo, see. Alright.
It's the purgatory of music consumption, because now you're fighting with the art. You're weaponizing it. You're struggling to like climb into a heaven of some sort, or go down into a hell. So I don't value it. So I'd rather we continue to collaborate. I want Blaqbonez and Odumodublvck to collaborate a lot more. I love their collaborations. So I want to see that. And I'd rather, as a consumer, even have that than have mean tweets.
I think that's the thing about it. Yeah, I agree with you on beef. I don't think it. I don't really participate a lot of times whenever these sort of things come up, or even give a comment. I think the thing about it, first and foremost, is that sometimes there are real emotions behind it.
Yes.
Genuine.
And I understand that. Then if someone offends you, if someone offends you as a person, go and break his head.
So violence over beef.
No. It's symbolic for go deal with your bullshit.
Okay.
If someone comes into this house, takes a shit in my parlor, even if he's an artist or a fellow journalist, I'm not going to do a press release. I'll break his head and just and chase him out. I'm not going to do a press release and then we begin to compare. And then, or even if the other guy initiates it, and then we begin to compare writing styles. Bro, you took a dump in my house. And
That's so wild that taking the dump shot, but yes, that's a police matter straight up.
Yeah, but you took a dump in my palace. So I'm breaking your head, not because you're a journalist. You took a dump.
Yeah.
And I'll do it to any other person. So
in other words, handle it privately.
But even though Odumodublvck in that situation has always insisted that this is not music.
This is real stuff.
Real life.
Yeah.
That's that's being spilled into music, but it's real life.
Yeah.
So deal with your things as men, deal with your stuff as men, but don't weaponize the arts. That's what gets to me.
I think because there've been instances where there've been great records that have come through beef. I've seen that maybe that is the only limited value.
Not in this market.
No, I mean, well, I think ACL in terms of like the push for Black's level of like lyricism, but at the end of the day, and I think it's one of his top records off the album. So I mean in sheer like
it's the top record of the album.
It's top record. So my point is that that's valuable to him and his team, right? And valuable to the fan base to a certain extent. But like obviously at the end of the day, it's still subjective.
Second order effects.
What did you say?
When you think of the second order effects of that.
So that's the thing. So to me, it's like the value that it brings is never really worth it in the long run. Beef is a spark moment, brings attention to the artist, limited attention, and doesn't necessarily spill over to like other projects.
I also think that's fake attention because now you're attracting generally, not even Black Dons are called, like general beef. You see the pathological personalities it attracts.
Pathological personalities Twitter like X fully, bro.
So you attract the fans of drama
for sure.
The fans,
and they're not the core.
They're not music. They won't listen to your music.
Like I'm a core Kendrick fan. I'm a core Drake fan. I have their beef was there's some records I'll go over and kind of enjoy for whatever reason, maybe a line or bar or two that I really liked. But ultimately, moving on, because I'm still a Kendrick fan, I'm still a Drake fan, and there was no all of a sudden now because of this I don't mess with this artist or this artist. So I think it's temporary, especially for the core fans and the people that are probably moving the industry and stuff. So it's temporary, and that's usually why I don't get involved, because I don't think there's a way to win. Really, I don't think there's a real way to actually. And
even if you win in a sense,
even win lyrically,
at what cost?
See, you can't just So to me, it's I watched it though, and I could see that this was driven by some real emotions. So this one was a bit different to me, and I feel like they probably had their reasons. And I have my own relationship with each of them, And so just watching it play out to the point where at least may nobody injure.
Yeah.
Let nobody's freedom be, affected, because this sees like a real situation. But in general, when I think of beef, generally a waste of time and doesn't add to my royalties.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. I mean? Generally, sure. And all this, like, there's a lot of people that will come out and use beef as a strategy to promote music. No. That's another way. But I mean, like, it's never really been
not my
tactic.
Yeah. And even sometimes when people make that request of me to beef them, and like,
do people have hit you up to beef them?
A lot. People hit you up and they're like, beef me.
Are you beefing Santi for real? Are you guys beefing?
I'm not beefing Santi. I'm beefing the significance of a movement that he was a part of.
Okay. Actually, to be honest with you, I'm not. I actually read what you said, and I do know that it was.
He made it personal. Well, it wasn't personal. But I've also put out a request. I put out repeated requests to him and his people.
Oh, to have an interview.
Yeah, to have an interview.
I'd watch that.
I would watch it too.
I like Santi. Santi's albums are very important in my discography, like just in terms of like my listening discography.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I think
for sure. I think I respect his thinking. I respect his brain. I feel like there's some gaps that need to be filled. So.
What, in his brain or in the sound?
No, in the sound now.
I'm fucking with you.
In our understanding.
For sure.
His movement.
And I'm sure he was. I would watch that.
That'd be lovely. We drink Martell, we'll chill.
Yeah, I'll watch
and then we'll look at each other and say,
yeah. Because like, bro, like there's so many stories, like, of how the scene has developed and gotten to the point that it is. When I was rapping, there was really not that big a lane for this kind of niche alternative rap space.
Not at all.
Style.
Yep.
And now there's so many like specific type of rappers which I love. You know, it's not every sound that I will jump on I think is magnificent, but I respect I feel this and I'm going to try it. I'm going to put it out, you know.
The diversity of thoughts.
I mean, rap is taking lyrical rap specifically
Yeah.
is taking its evolution. It's happening.
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful for certain albums that came out this year that I feel like reminded people of why you love this kind of like style and genre, like Dave's record.
Yeah, Dave
the
Dave
Clips
was
record.
beautiful.
I'm still listening to Black. I'm still listening to OD.
Yeah.
You know, and I like their projects because one thing I love about that is it's never been about giving. This is Nige.
Yeah.
Look at our menu. Look at our diversity of palette for food.
Yep.
Now and then music. Talk less of rap. How can it be the same guy?
No, never.
Lyrical rap. There's this like sort of big attack rap. There's Hostel Boys rap,
yeah.
where I'm not really rapping. My piano beat the A2 at the log
And there's pop music rap.
And there's pop music rap. You know, so it's like different pockets and it goes deeper.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that there's more and more established rap artists coming out that are filling up the landscape. I know when I see myself, but I like that. And I think that is necessary. That is how industries grow and niches grow.
That's how we stay healthy.
That's how we stay healthy, man. A balanced diet. You know, but let's just. I will always care about writing. Always. Yeah. So I will never really read a rap artist that doesn't have something he's trying to say.
Yeah. Okay.
I will never really send.
Okay. And so, album next year?
By the special grace of God, album next year. But that's that part. But the other side, yes, album next year.
Okay.
100%. It's to put out my POV.
So 2026 is
2026 is the year of the. I don't know when this is coming out because I actually want to say the name of the album, you know. So
you can say it, but we don't have a specific whatever. So it might be the announcement. So go through.
It's the revival year. It's the year of the revival. It's revival season. The fan base knows what that means, and it's about time. And anybody who's cared, who's stuck with the art, let it sit with them. They know that there's a journey that they're going to experience with the project, you know. And I can't wait to put it out. You've heard some of the music, but I can't wait to share this. I'm really excited, and I see Lifelines in different places. They come up to me and be like, "No, like, I'm a fan," and then they give me reasons why they believe that they're a fan. These people, like, I cannot wait to share this album with you guys. For real.
All right, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And thanks for doing this. I cannot wait
Yes.
to have it out in the open.
Hey, man, Joey, look, I'm just happy to be here in your living room. The last interview was in a car.
Yes.
Joey pulled up. I remember I was Know You had dropped. And I remember even when we were having the interview, just to buttress the point, Know You played on the radio. So Joey knew for real it's popping. So, but no, I appreciate the conversation.
Thank you. We thank God. And we thank God that, you know, OkayAfrica is here. Martell is here. There are a lot more people coming, a lot more conversations in place. And this is the greatest podcast ever done.
Hey.
So,
shout out to the next time. I can't wait to be back again.
Definitely.
And, can't wait for the album to be out and the next chapter.
Definitely.
Let's
wrap this up. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Knew that. Boom.